Good evening. What's up, ladies and gentlemen?
And welcome back on our latest episode on our podcast. It's been a hot minute.
Things happened.
Yeah, things, right?
Well, vacations, job opportunities, friend meetups, so much to handle. But the most important thing is that here we are again.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And we're back with a banger, actually. Since some time has passed, we thought we could do something a little, well, different. We are ranking the most influential and impactful events of the last 5 years. So that would be from 2020 to 2024.
We are gonna base them on three main criteria: wars relevance, mediatic coverage, and short to medium term implications. Short medium term being like the next 5 years or the 5 years following the event.
Yep. And with that criteria set and established, let's not waste any further time and let's get right into the news.
So we decided to put as number 10 the death killing of Mahsa Amini in Iran and all the following women's uprising and also the other persecution to women we have seen in the recent months. This is a pretty important event in the Middle East, especially for how hard and harsh is the regime in Iran. Basically, in September 2022, Mahsa Amini was arrested by Iran's morality police for allegedly wearing her hijab improperly. It ignited nationwide protests, and also after having been arrested, she died. Apparently, they said that she died for natural causes, but we all know that that is not the case. And Her death symbolized Iran's oppressive religious laws, sparking the biggest uprising against the Islamic Republic since 1979.
Yeah. So just to be clear, the protests spread to 80 plus cities with women cutting their hair and burning hijabs. There was the motto "Women, Life, Freedom." The Iranian regime responded with mass arrests, executions, and even internet blackouts so that they couldn't communicate. Around over 500 protesters were killed and thousands were imprisoned. So this repression showed how decades and decades and decades of oppression by the regime could start to falter and there could be another change coming up for Iran, but I'm quite skeptical of it in the short term.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, it's good that at least people protested, that they had the chance to protest, as it happens in other states. But the difference is that while in democratic countries, Western countries, with protests, you can maybe sometimes achieve something. In Iran and countries like Iran, it's basically impossible. In fact, it did not lead to anything, if not other repressions to other women who tried to do the same as Mahsa Amini. I think that luckily they at least did not die, but I mean they were still arrested and repressed.
Yeah, I agree. In fact, um, it's very difficult, but it has to start somewhere, a revolution. So we shall see. But this is at number 10 because there wasn't much of a global effect by this event. So moving on. Now we have the EU politics. Overall, the right wing parties and Brexit are the three main topics of this number 9 spot. And it goes as follows. The European Union, I think, has faced a political shift that will lead to a radicalization towards the right. I'm not saying extreme, but definitely towards the right in the recent years. We've seen that with Italy, France, Germany, and the Netherlands. In Germany, especially, there is the far right, actually, the alternative for Germany, AfD, who surged in polls. Musk also said that he thinks they are a great party. Then we have Giorgia Meloni, who is still very conservative, but at least not as extremist as AfD and is doing some diplomatic work. We have Marine Le Pen, who continues to gain ground, challenging Macron's centrist rule. And then Spain and Sweden also did see some right-wing parties gaining influence, but not absolute. Plus, with the EU, we have the Brexit and the economic struggles of the UK slowed trade and labor shortages, but it wasn't something catastrophic. Ireland's border tensions uh, were heightened due to these complications, and it is also true that London did lose some financial dominance as other EU capitals like Paris and Frankfurt rose to its spot. What do you think?
Well, about Brexit, I actually think that the impacts on the European Union has not been that harsh as expected, or at least they are not anymore there nowadays. For sure, the impacts have been very significant for the British people, for Britain per se. Instead, in terms of the recent elections, I think it's too early to say if this is gonna shift the entire politics of the European continent, of the European Union. But for sure, it has been a strong signal, and we will see further confirmations in the upcoming German elections, and maybe next summer also in the new French elections.
Hmm. Are we expecting a right-wing Europe, and does this influence the rest of the world?
I mean, all the traces drive us towards the fact that there will be a right rising in Europe and a right leading Europe. For sure, in some countries it's already that way, in others not, but they could move towards it. We have seen recently Austria. We may see Germany with a rising role of the AfD. I don't know if this is gonna change something in terms of influence across the world. Maybe it's gonna get us more respect from like regimes which are sort of more authoritarian and dictatorial. But I don't know if it's gonna change something that much in practical terms.
Yeah, I do think the EU is great at adapting to all challenges, diplomatically speaking. Economically, financially, we're very much behind, especially on a sector which will be mentioned later on and is higher on this list. So I think that's all. We can move on to the next one.
So on the eighth place, we decided to put the Taliban return to power and the following U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan after 20 years of war. In August 2021, the Taliban rapidly seized control of Afghanistan, marking the end of that 20-year US-led war. The collapse of the Afghan government happened shockingly fast, with cities falling within days, despite billions spent on Afghan security forces by Western states. Among the key moments that we had, there is the fall of Kabul on August 15, 2021, prompting the chaotic US evacuation, with Afghans desperately clinging to planes at Kabul airport. President Ashraf Ghani fled the country, leaving Afghanistan under Taliban rule. Women's rights again collapsed, with bans on education, employment, public life, also with stricter norms about going around the city normally. And then we had the economic collapse as international aid was cut, causing severe famine and poverty. So, what do you think, Al, about this? Is gonna have other and future implication, geopolitical implication, also considering Russia and China maybe influencing now the Taliban or having sort of cooperation with them?
Mm, we'll have to see. I think it definitely damaged America's credibility, although it was clear that nothing was going to be particularly successful in Afghanistan for the Americans. Now, you could say that critics and other people too are emboldened to critique the US, and saying that this move has emboldened rivals like Russia and China, and we will see. However, I think the event in and of itself wasn't something spectacularly important, as everyone already foresaw this. So it's not shocking, and this is why I think it doesn't rank higher in our list. It has the potential to be much more important, but I don't think it's gonna get to that place for the top three.
Yeah, I agree. And shocking was also the way the United States under Biden left, leaving all the weapons, all Western weapons to Taliban, so empowering them even more than they already are. And well, with that said, we can move on to the seventh spot.
Now we are moving into the Abraham Accords of 2020. This marked a historic normalization of ties between Israel and Arab states, including the UAE, Bahrain, Morocco, Sudan. So this was spearheaded by the Trump administration, and it was seen as a major shift in Middle Eastern diplomacy. However, yeah, it didn't end really well because the accords escalated Iran's fear of isolation, which heightened tensions between Tehran and Washington. And sort of to just go right to the point, under Biden, this was basically abandoned. And this plus Soleimani's death, which was an airstrike by the US, triggered a response from Iran because Soleimani was very powerful. He was, I think, the second in command, so obviously there had to be a response. They launched some missile strikes on U.S. bases. They killed no one. It was just a show of force, which reminds me the same show of force that Iran did to Israel recently. So it's not exactly an important event in terms of catastrophic consequences, but definitely it showed that the US is capable of killing and striking into the depths of Iran. Plus, the Abraham Accords could have been historical, like we're talking very historical, but they were abandoned. So there could be more that could be done, but it wasn't.
Well, yeah, I do think that the Abraham Accords had a great potential, and I really do hope that they will be taken back now by Trump again, bringing together all those countries, which, as you said, marked an historical milestone for the Middle East and the cooperation between Israel and Arab states. Whereas instead of the Soleimani killing, as you said, it's just something to send was something to send a message, was something like propaganda of the deed, but made by a state, made by the United States to show around that the US are there, the US wants to control the Middle East, that will not leave any path to Iran. Um, it surely had a crucial importance, yeah, but obviously you can always replace a general, a high-ranked general, with another one. So, as you said, it was just symbolical. Then we reached the sixth spot. We decided to put here probably the most recent event we are considering after Trump, which is the fall of the Assad regime, Bashar al-Assad regime in Syria. His rule began in 2000 following his father. He faced its greatest challenge with the Syrian civil war sparked after the Arab Springs in 2011. What started as a peaceful demonstration then escalated into a brutal multi-front war involving Syrian opposition forces, jihadist groups like ISIS, Kurdish militias, and also foreign actors, USA, Russia, Iran, Saudi, Turkey. For years, the Assad managed to maintain power through extreme military oppression and unwavering cooperation with Russia and Iran. Russia's 2015 intervention, which included relentless bombing campaigns, turned the tide in Assad's favor, allowing him to reclaim key territories like Aleppo and Damascus. Meanwhile, Iran's military and financial backing, along with Hezbollah's involvement, bolstered Assad's forces against both rebels and ISIS and also the external forces. However, by 2024, Assad's grip on Syria began to weaken due to a series of factors, which include economic collapse, renewed protests and insurgencies, especially by militias, Arab militias, and the rebels. Russia's disengagement, since Russia is now still focused on Ukraine and has reduced its military support for Syria. The Arab reconciliation, again, we come back to sort of the Abraham Accords, the Arab reconciliation back in the past. Turkish and Israeli strikes, also Iran weakening. And so in December 2024, after 13 years of civil war, President Bashar al-Assad was ousted from power following a rapid offensive by the rebel forces guided by al-Julani, the rebel forces of al-Nusra. And we do believe that it should be in the sixth position because at present it had already crucial implications. It may have further and incredible implications for the geopolitics of the Middle Eastern, but we do not know yet. So what do you think, Al, about this event?
I actually don't have much of a prediction because it's sorry to say, but it's a mess in Syria. You have so many actors on top of actors, so it's very confusing. There's definitely a concern for some and maybe pleasure for others. So simply we'll have to wait and see. I don't think that it's fair to predict anything when literally I don't think many people were expecting this to happen in the first place. So as this proves, there could be more shocking and honestly violent events in the near future.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And now we can enter the top five.
Now we moved on to the upper echelon of importance. This event is the Hamas attacks Israel plus the retaliation, aftermath, Hezbollah, Houthis, all of that, all the MENA conflict basically from 2023 to present day. We put it into one event. I think that the war with Israel has been covered and Gaza has been covered very much everywhere, pretty much every day, and I don't think it has extreme influence and importance for the average person outside of the Middle East. Politically, geopolitically, it does, but it definitely has some major implications geopolitically. What do you think, Ale?
Yeah, I mean, I do think that first of all, we have been right. Honestly, I'm proud of ourselves for having put all this stuff together because we had a sort of a chain from one event to the other. So we have October the 7th, and then it's the retaliation, sorry, of Israel, and then the Houthis and Hezbollah started entering the scene, the stage, also Iran. So it's all a chain of events which should be put together as a huge MENA conflict. As you said, I do think that for most of the people not interested in politics, it does not really matter what is happening in the Middle East, if you are from outside of the Middle East, obviously. But from geopolitical and political terms, as you said, it is of huge importance everything that is happening, because if you link that to the event we discussed before, the fall of Assad, we are witnessing a very huge geopolitical sort of revolution, realignment, adjustment in the Middle East, which could have serious and severe implications for the years upcoming.
Yeah, just to end it on a final note for this event, I have to admit that if you're American and you seeing your tax dollars go into billions of package for Israel, um, you might not be as happy to hear that. Depends on your stance, but definitely you Americans have much more of an interest than say like Italians into this conflict. So it's important, but not that important to justify the top three.
We're going to lead the greatest comeback in American history under Donald Trump's leadership.
God spared my life for a reason, to restore America to greatness. Together we can truly make America great.
Now, fourth spot, we decided to put Donald Trump and all the surroundings, meaning his attempted assassination, his campaign, his re-election. He's already in the plans. He's already acted. So we do believe that this event as a whole is no way, but more influential than the Hamas conflict, simply because it may have more global geopolitical and political implication than the Hamas-Israel conflict and the Houthi-Hezbollah stuff may have. I mean, starting with Donald Trump in general, he remains one of the most controversial figures in modern U.S. politics. He was elected as president, 45th president in 2016. His presidency was marked by a populist nationalist approach, emphasizing American first foreign policy against some international agreements like the Paris Climate Accords, the JCPOA, a trade war with China. His response to COVID-19 pandemic, which critics argue was marked by misinformation and downplaying of the virus, tax cut benefiting corporations, the USMCA, and many other things. It culminated with January the 6th, 2021 Capitol riot, where Trump supporters stormed the US Capitol. And then, obviously, as we said, he was defeated by Joe Biden. Trump remains the dominant force in the Republican Party after the defeat, and he managed to get reelected in 2024 after facing two, or actually three, I think, attempted assassinations. The first one especially was almost killed. Then he did, I think, a great campaign in terms of achieving and obtaining votes also from specific social classes he did not expect to have that many votes from. And so what do you think, Al, about Trump and all the influence he has and might have?
Well, let's just put it into perspective. He's been in power for what, some weeks, not even a month, I believe. And now they're renaming the Gulf of Mexico into the Gulf of America. He's already deporting illegal migrants and criminals who are not supposed to be there. He's working with the Middle Eastern leaders, I believe from Jordan, from Saudi Arabia. He's hearing from Netanyahu. He has a plan for Gaza, which I don't think it's a perfect plan. I don't really enjoy it too much, but still, he's doing much more than Biden. He literally did something almost impossible, seemingly. He put Zelensky and Putin together for diplomatic reasons. As of today, I've also heard that he spoke directly to Putin. So in 1 month, he's doing more than what Biden did in 4 years. And I'm sorry if you disagree with this, but this is objective. And again, imagine what he can do in the next 4 years. Like him or hate him, he's influential. He deserves the fourth spot.
Yeah, totally.
And now at the third spot, we're at the podium. There's AI. AI and the AI boom is incredibly influential, notwithstanding literally anyone that you meet on the street who probably has heard of, or will use ChatGPT. You have the US under Donald Trump investing, I don't remember if it's millions or billions, but definitely a lot into AI. You have China with DeepSeek releasing the code, which means anyone can make their own AI, ChatGPT style. So there's sort of a Cold War going on with AI. There has been outstanding improvements and expansion of the AI's capabilities in the last years. Definitely 100% there's going to be job displacement, misinformation, privacy and surveillance issues. So AI is the future. We better control it. We better prevent, well, as you've seen in the clip, Terminator style future. What do you think, Ale?
Well, I think that the boom of artificial intelligence in the 2020s, especially since OpenAI put out ChatGPT, can be defined as a sort of revolution per se, an historical event which must be separated from any other kind of events, which stands out alone, and which is of pivotal importance for the future of humanity. As you said, there are a lot of dangers linked to artificial intelligence, from job displacement to misinformation, potential loss of privacy and surveillance because of too much data flowing into AI, into technology. There are also existential risks put out by some experts. But for sure, if controlled with enough regulation, transparency, and an example of regulation is also in Europe, the Use AI Act, or the executive order on AI of the White House. I think with those regulations, with transparency, with control, we can really reach something unforeseeable right now, thanks to AI. So I do believe it's a real revolution per se.
Faut pas faire ça, les gars, c'est
Now, second spot, second most important event of the last 5 years. We decided to put here the Russia-Ukraine war. It was very close to AI, so we discussed a lot about these two positions, but then we decided to put here Russia-Ukraine war because of more short-term implications it has compared to the long-term ones of AI. I mean, I think it is needless to do a recap of the Russia-Ukraine war. Everyone is informed about what has happened. Maybe not everyone is informed about what is still happening or what happens on a daily basis. But I do believe that this war deserves a second spot because it has shuffled the cards of the geopolitical European scenario. The involvement of the United States in Europe, the involvement of Russia in such a huge war since the USSR times, the involvement of Europe sanctioning and now also thinking about a European defense. This war is moving things in political terms.
Absolutely. It reshaped European security. It woke up in a way NATO. It strengthened the alliance between China, Iran, and North Korea, who, by the way, sent 10,000 troops. That's not nothing, that's a lot. It remains a high-intensity conflict even to this day, even if Putin and Zelensky are talking on the ground, they're not stopping as of now. So in the last years, it did have a great impact. It continues to have a great impact, and it will definitely be studied in the history books of the future.
Yeah, and about that, it's interesting how now we're living in a century when we can tell our children and grandchildren that we were there when this war happened. So it's something surprising, shocking, and sad at the same time.
If we're gonna reach our grandchildren and we're not gonna die first.
China has identified the cause of the mysterious new virus.
Coronavirus.
There are fears a rapidly spreading virus has reached Australia.
This is a rapidly emerging situation where there is not a cause for alarm.
The first US case has been detected.
There's confirmation the coronavirus has reached Australia.
And on the first spot, yeah, COVID. Absolutely, no question. We shouldn't even be explaining why this was the most influential event of the last years. You kidding me? The pandemic caused by SARS-CoV-2 that started in Wuhan, in the lab, by the way, and it's pretty much confirmed. That's what the Chinese are not really caring about what they did, and they just like, oh yeah, fine. This caused the entire world to go into shutdown, billions and billions of dollars or whatever of assets gone, burnt. You had big pharma becoming even bigger pharma with Pfizer, BioNTech, Moderna. They rushed the development of the vaccines. You had some who were pro these vaccines. There were some who were against. You had people like Fauci literally lying, and this is all documented in front of the national TV of the US. And you had also in Europe, incredible distress. You had incredible distress in the US. So this absolutely accelerated the rise of new forms of interaction because the online world boomed essentially from video games to remote work, digitalization of interactions, anything. The COVID pandemic has been remembered and will be remembered as one of the greatest pandemics, even though it wasn't as deadly as many ought it to be. The impact is substantial.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It's a no-brainer that COVID-19 should be there at the first place of the most important events of the last 5 years. It has shuffled and reshaped so many things from politics to medicine to economy. World economies are still suffering or recovering from the effects of the pandemic. Some countries like Germany and Italy were hit severely. They're still trying to get back to how they were before, even if actually Italy was not that good before. Probably it's better right now, but that's another story. And yeah, COVID-19 totally changed the way of individuals' lives. As you said, digitalization, people staying at home, streaming platforms boomed. As you said, video games. Also, these can be linked in a certain sense to artificial intelligence. I mean, ChatGPT came out later, but surely seeing that many people behind the screens, braining for technology, wanted to develop new stuff, and this brought to ChatGPT, DeepSeek, and all things related. And COVID-19 has simply been, as I said before, for the AI, a revolution per se. A negative revolution because it brought a lot of shortcomings, flaws, drawbacks, but it has surely fostered some other areas. I mean, after the end of the pandemic per se, we have understood, we have learned our lessons. We now may be more able to face such a pandemic. We hope, obviously, that it does not happen again. But yeah, I totally agree with putting that in the first spot.
Just to end on an ominous note, I found it incredibly disturbing how people turned on their own people, their own citizens, their own neighbors, daughters, sons, family, uh, by condemning each other's side. By that I mean those who are saying, "Hey, give me some time. I want to see if these vaccines work." Then on the other side, who's saying, "Hey, can you please take the shot so that I feel more safe?" And I've seen hysteria on both sides. The governments, who I am guarantee you, abused their powers all over the world,
Yeah.
and it became also authoritarian. Honestly, a bit of a 1984 concept to me, uh, but maybe we'll have an episode dedicated to COVID-19 and what has been leaked in the last years. But with that said, we can end our list. Let us know if you think you would change something.
Well, that was quite a ranking, and I'm ready to get blasted into oblivion from other people. And you too, Ale.
You bet. Well, guys, thank you all for listening, and follow us on our social media, Instagram, LinkedIn, with the name Network Studenti Sicurezza Italiani, NSSI, on YouTube, and on our podcast platforms, Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Stay informed, stay engaged, and see you in the next video.